welcome back. On this week's episode of Bone Apple Tea, we sat down with John Marcheterre from Red Devil Performance and Fitness, aka our good buddy John. We've had him on the podcast a couple times before.
It's been years.
It has been years. We attempted to have a topic-focused episode this time, but having John on, he's one of our buddies, so we kind of went off the rails and ranted a bit. We talked. Obviously, he's a specialist in exercise, nutrition, fitness, and obviously, he used to be physical therapy, heavy. So anyways, we talk about a range of things from, habits for the average person, a lot of just fitness and nutrition advice, just like basics for somebody coming to the gym or bigger problems that he sees with people that come to him specifically, that he notices that are pretty common. And and obviously, he's got a new gym set up at his place now too. I guess that's not obvious, but he has a new gym set up at his place now too, in his backyard. And it's a private gym, and it's doing pretty well actually. He's been extremely busy, so kind of talk about that a bit. And yeah, pretty much just like nutrition and stuff, right? It was like nutrition, working out, and then like we got into just like just all sorts of stuff. So it's a good episode.
And whiskey.
And whiskey. And we had, some whiskey during it. So, I went off a little bit. I had a little margaritas beforehand, a little work thing. And, maybe I should have reined it in a little bit, but it's okay. maybe the people will like that. But here's the thing is that if I had come in with a little bit of magic mind, maybe I wouldn't have been all over the place because, I just could have used some of this and those adaptogens. Look, I can barely talk right now.
That's pick up again. Yeah, you're sounding a little slow there, buddy.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like I do miss it. I will admit we ran out of our product, and
it's been tough.
It's been tough. I would have gladly taken one right before this, but
especially for these podcasts later in the day, where like I for sure don't want to end up taking or drinking like a coffee because like that will for sure affect my sleep. So,
correct. Yeah.
The smallest bit of caffeine is actually nice, along with the adaptogens that are in it. So,
dude, like even something just like lion's mane is just like fantastic before a podcast, and especially because we're filming this one late at night, it would have just been great. And I think with maybe counterbalance some of the margaritas I had, maybe just a little bit. But if you want to grab some Magic Mind, you want to get some of that matcha, some of that ashwagandha, some of that rhodiola, cordyceps, and all that sort of stuff, use our code at magicmind.com/Apple with the discount code Apple20 for up to 56% off your subscription. And look, I'd get the 30-pack if I was you. It's the best value you can get.
And I was blown away by that 56% off thing.
Yeah, well, it's like, hey, the episode airs, within 2 weeks, you can get up to 56% off your subscription. That's crazy. Or 20% off if it's after that 2-week date. Regardless, it's a great deal. I highly recommend it. I'm going to be re-upping soon because we ran out.
All right, well, I think that's it. Enjoy.
It charges and it doesn't.
Yeah.
The next day, your phone's at like 4% in the morning.
It's the worst.
Oh, actually, hold on. I'm going to grab some of this
Bird Dog whiskey.
That happens.
What are the odds that you've actually done commercials for them?
Yeah, well, it was so funny, dude.
Oh, you have a hat. Did you show them the hat?
No, I should have. When I was on my first shoot with them, they gave me a little blue hat.
It's like fucking dessert in a
bottle. It is. It's quite good.
And it's cheap.
Shout out to Bird Dog Whiskey for giving me
thank you, sir.
a bunch of commercials. Yeah.
You're going to sleep good tonight?
Yeah. And dude, nothing pairs well with training like a nice glass of whiskey
It'll
afterwards.
probably help the nerve issues. You'll calm down.
Yeah, because the first thing Adam thought was getting on this podcast is he's super nervous that you're here.
Yeah. No, the hand, dumbass.
Oh, wow, that flew over my head. John, holy crap, dude. I think the last time we did a podcast with you, for those of you that are new to the show, he was one of our first interviewees, I think.
Yeah, actually, you might have been the first person we interviewed.
There was the Sabrina, and then I think it was him.
Oh, okay.
Well, we did one episode, then I think we did one during COVID, or was it just before? I don't know.
Yeah, because
it's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's been at least 3 years since our last actual. And we're always like, oh, we got to get you back on. And then we took a little bit of a break and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we did the New Year's one.
Also, bring that microphone nice and close to you.
Did we? We might have done one during COVID.
Yeah. Do you want me to like bring the table closer to you?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay.
Yeah, but and yeah, always like you can move this. Oh, except don't knock over that.
Do not knock over the sponsor's whiskey.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, can Bird Dog sponsor the show? Well, what's crazy is there's been so much time that's passed, and you'd figure that there would be like a super revolution of fitness within 4 years or something, but it's all pretty much the same.
It's always been the same.
Yeah.
It's just like at this point with the internet, I think it goes backwards.
Yeah.
Like people with the influencers and all this shit are like de-evolutionizing it.
Yeah. Well, they're like, there's almost we're getting to the point where I think there was this really funny video where it was like Paul Saladino saying like, oatmeal is not the breakfast of champions. And then they asked like, and then it cut straight to like, I think a running champion. It was like one of the most recent like marathon champions or something like that. And they're like, oh, what do you eat for breakfast every morning? And he's like, oatmeal. Yeah. And it's just like, Yeah,
but Saladino's got like, he means well, but he's kind of kooky.
Yeah, well, it's only recently that he's been like, well, okay, fruits are good in moderation. Like, how many more years before he's just like, well, every now and then broccoli, if you introduce, like when.
Well, and he's like business partners with the Liver King too. Yeah. Like that Heart and Soil companies, them too, and then whatever investors.
Yeah. Like ancestral supplements.
And it's cool, like I get it, but like if you can't send that kind of message and do a bunch of gear, like
like my favorite was anyone that was like, oh, what?
Yeah,
he's not natural. What?
Dude is constantly red and like pulsating.
He looks like fucking Hellboy because of all the goddamn tren he's taking.
He's always got flush
and just Rami. What was that? Fucking Matt Ballmer.
Oh yeah,
he reminds me of that kid. I'm just gonna eat raw beef and eggs in my
he's
car.
Like, I feel great. You ever just like drive on the highway and have to pull over before you absolutely shit your brains out? I'm like, no, actually, that's never happened to me in my life.
No, maybe eat a vegetable like once, dude. Yeah, no, what's crazy is that there still seems to be a lot of confusion, and I think it's sort of added more so by the people in the hyper fitness space that are like, they've gone so far down the rabbit hole that they've sort of strayed away from just like what even the common person needs for information.
Oh, absolutely.
So I guess when you're looking at the things, like what kind of comes up in your mind is like, okay, like people... Yes, okay, like all this crazy advanced level like fitness stuff, but like what's like the just like general person? Like what do they need to know?
I mean, there's a place for everything. Like those super specialized people you're talking about, there's absolutely a place for that. And there are people that require that. But like the whole fitness and nutrition thing can be both very, very simple and very complex. But most of the time, it's just real basic shit. Like you just have to lift weights a little bit, do a little bit of cardio, and eat some decent food.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really doesn't, for the normal person, doesn't have to be more than that.
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't. Like if your food's not processed, you eat decent portions, the odds of you being fat are real slim.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, I think what's crazy to me is I have a family member who is on a new quote diet, and she is sort of like, yeah, it's it's kind of crazy. Like I'm just sort of eating like, a little handful of fruit and some eggs and,
Normal shit.
just like, and I'm just like, yeah, isn't it wild that we've gotten so addicted to these processed foods that now just eating normal food is considered a diet?
And I think the processed foods is part of the problem. Like if you look at like something like a bag of Lay's potato chips, right? Seems harmless enough. It's illegal in like 40 countries because of all the shit in it, because they put all these chemicals in it, like sodium dioxide and shit like that to give it a longer shelf life.
Yeah.
It's like most of our processed food is illegal to sell in most countries. Like that should tell you something right there.
Yeah.
A lot of snacks, like even candies, like even
cereal.
Like, cereals.
Dude, we went to Italy. There's no American chips. There's no American cereal. There's no like... You go to that grocery store and you would be like, where is everything?
One of the best things about like the comparison, Italy's perfect, because if you look at people in Italy and look at US citizens, what's the one thing they have in common? They all eat pasta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we get fat here and they don't?
Yeah.
Because it's not garbage full of chemicals. It's fresh, handmade. It's in portions. Like
it's
the lifestyle is certainly
Italy.
Different, but
lifestyle's very different.
But the chemicals in the food are way different. Like you do not find chemicals in food like you do here everywhere else. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think though over there too, there is definitely like when they wake up, at least from what I noticed and like talking to people, it's they have an espresso, maybe a cigarette, And then they maybe at siesta, they have like a little piece of bread thing.
Yeah.
And then at lunch, it's a little thing. It's a little thing in another espresso, and they're drinking espressos constantly. And then they get to dinner, and dinner is their kind of like main portion. But throughout the day, they're also walking.
Yeah. They walk everywhere.
They walk everywhere.
Everything's so close.
Everything's so close.
Ride bikes or something.
Yeah, ride bikes.
Always,
Yeah.
And to even nitpick that, though, espresso is a natural diuretic and loaded with caffeine, which is an appetite suppressant.
Yep.
So, like, I mean, is it metabolically the best thing in the world? No, but it's certainly better than what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah. We definitely have like this.
We have an eating problem.
Yeah, and a serious eating problem. Like, I think there's like, I was thinking, like, I heard the other day is like, oh, like people need to switch to vegan to save the environment. I was like, yo, you want to save the environment? We're going to set a new law. Everyone can only eat 1,500 calories. And you want to, because like, if you really think about it, the biggest problem is actually overconsumption. I know that would be an insane law. That'd be like totalitarian. That would be insane to say.
We're not fucking far from it now.
But it's
whatever.
It's like, if you think about it, if you want to half everyone's, probably more than half, most people that are eating like
a bag of chips, like, you know, I feel like severely underestimate how many calories are.
Probably like 350, 400 calories or something for a little ass bag.
Dude, and like if you buy the single serving, like the little bags, like, okay, you know, like you're right though. You think it'd be like, oh, this is like 150 calories. Most of the time it's like 300, you know, around 300, 350. Then imagine you get an actual bag of chips. Like I could crush like 2 bags of potato chips on my like actual like family size bags.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't even have to be chips. If you look at like it happened when the Atkins diet was super popular. They were talking about like carbohydrates in certain foods, right? Well, then they started using the term net carbs because it was a way to get around.
Oh yeah, they subtract the fiber.
So
well, they subtract fiber and like then they were going into like sugar, alcohol, and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of research on how that really affects the human body or how it's processed. But I mean, then they're using net carbs to be like, oh, no, thing's got 35 grams of carbs. They say it's got 2. Like,
yeah, they're kind of lying on the back.
No, absolutely.
And so, and my point with the whole like crazy, like everyone can only eat 1,500 calories is that like you would substantially benefit the whole world if everyone just could only eat that certain amount. If everyone, because you're talking about like that person who usually has the Starbucks drink and goes over here and has this creamy thing and the donut, and then they come home and they have a massive meal and then this and that. It's like the real problem is our overconsumption.
That's
of everything.
Literally, there's like shows like My 600-Pound Life,
right?
Or like a reason it's a fucking major issue.
Yeah.
And from someone like that to someone like me and you, like we overconsume all the time.
Yeah.
But with energy expenditure and everything else, it kind of evens out.
Yeah.
Like I'd be lying if I said I didn't eat a big bowl of fucking pasta the other night, but
yeah, right.
It felt like hell, but I did.
Well, like with purpose, you know, and a lot of the times
I'm going to move John's
like,
mic a little closer.
Oh.
No, you're good. All right, keep going.
A lot of the times too, just like, you know, thinking about it, like, okay, if I didn't move a lot in a day and I'm sitting there at the end of the night and I'm like, okay, like I'm going to eat some protein and then I'm going to call it. Like, that's it. I did nothing today. Like, I'm not going to.
Yeah, but you have self-control. And that's like people now, and it's one of the things I run into the most as a coach is like the little things like that where that seems simple enough or where people make their biggest fucking mistakes and excuses. Because they're like, well, convenience is a major issue. So they're like, well, I can just do this on the way home. No, take fucking 5 minutes, cook something, eat it and go to bed. Like, don't stop at McDonald's, eat a 3,200 calorie meal and be like, I don't know why I feel like this.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is too, and this is kind of my point I was trying to make earlier, is that the fitness space has made things seem very complicated.
Yeah, they're not.
Like it's like somehow like there's a trick that people don't know, that there's some sort of secret that we're harboring.
Because that sells.
It sells.
They're trying to sell you a dream or their brand.
Yeah.
When if you could just tell them like, you know what? If it has more than 5 ingredients, don't eat it. Don't eat till you're full. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause that's all it is. Like when I do nutrition work for people, like I have a couple people doing a year-long thing right now. And they're 3 months in. I haven't given them shit for nutrition. Like our basic rules are if you can't catch it, kill it, or grow it, you don't eat it.
Mm.
And if it comes from a box and has more than 5 ingredients, you don't touch it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
simple enough, man.
And it's like, there's still a lot of fucking food you can eat.
Yeah.
Like if you go into a grocery store, all you have to do is stay out of the aisles and you'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Yeah.
It's circle the perimeter. That's
That's
where
it.
all the stuff in the fridges
The
are.
only time you'll get in trouble is on the far left side where the ice cream and shit is.
yeah, it's true.
Why is it the far left side?
I don't
It
know.
always
It's
is
pretty
the far left
consistent,
side.
though.
Oh, here we go.
The far left.
But I didn't even think about it like that. I didn't even think about it like that.
Huh?
Yeah, no.
Don't do it here.
No, but it's a good point, and I think like it's something that I really want to like. I have a few guys at the gym like ask me like, oh, what should I be eating? Like, there's this guy Jay who's been in High Times magazine actually.
Good for him.
But
Yeah, that's right.
He's been on the cover, which is insane. But he's been going through this huge journey. He's 275 pounds. He's never really lifted in his whole life, but he's in his like 40s, I think, and over the past, I think it's around 6-7 months. I think he started February or somewhere in there. He's down to 225 now.
Good for him.
And that's actually, no, sorry, 230 something.
Whatever. It's
But
damn near
it's-
50 pounds.
yes.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
fucking
he
weight.
lost a lot of weight.
Yes, he lost a ton of weight. And so he'd be telling me like, what do I even, and how do I? I'm like, you'd be really surprised how easy it is. And then I would describe it. He's like, that's exactly what my nutritionist is saying. And I'm like, yeah, like it's crazy how basic it seems.
Well, that's the thing. It
You
can be
know?
very basic or complex. Most people don't need complex. But because the complex stuff sells, especially for like as me as a coach, somebody approaching me, well, I need a diet. I was like, no, the fuck you don't. That's the last thing you need. You need to learn good habits first.
Yeah.
Because if you have complete shit habits and you try to go strict right away, it's 90% not going to fucking work.
Yeah.
There's not a
for sure.
chance. Like you're going to go into shock. You're going to want ice cream every 4 seconds. It's just not going to happen. So you
Yeah.
have to like, all right, let's start report. Eat whatever you want, but smaller portions.
Yeah.
And then you step by step wean down with stuff like that from there.
Yeah, it's crazy because like that's the thing too is just portions. Like I'm not saying you can't ever have pasta.
No.
Just like don't have 200 grams
No.
of pasta.
The problem is like you see a box and then
You just
eat it.
pour.
Yeah.
You just pour.
eat the whole fucking box.
Yeah.
And another thing too, I feel like people like, I mean, I guess we don't look at it this way because like, I don't know, we're thinking macros and whatever, but people will just have like just pasta like for their whole entire meal. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's crazy to me. I'm like, you don't want any sort of protein or vegetable with that or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, trust me, I love pasta and I would eat it, but like, I'm just thinking like, what is this doing for me? And then also with respect to the McDonald's thing, I feel like a lot of people don't associate or think about how they feel afterwards. And I feel like if they were to just sit there and be like, wow, I feel like absolute dog shit like the next day or even an hour later, and then maybe associate that negative feeling with what they ate, then they would be less likely to just go grab it.
I don't know, man. You know why Taco Bell doesn't have a playscape, right? Hard to have fun
Dude,
if you're going to shit your pants.
You know,
I still
and
can't
people
believe-
still buy it. I think I've been to Taco Bell twice, but trust me, I went to McDonald's, Wendy, dude, all through high school. We just go out right after school, whatever. And then after a
all the
while, I
time.
was like, I feel like I'm getting shot in the gut with a fucking sawed off. Like,
Yeah.
so
When I was in high school, we would play basketball all day at a park. And the only thing around was like a Burger King or McDonald's. My mom would give us like enough money to go get lunch and stuff. And we'd be there all day. And I fucking survived on that shit. And I mean, at 15, 16 years old, you're just burning 2,000 calories a day, shredded, eating double cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
What
It's
the
a
fuck?
whole different ball game back then.
I haven't had a McDonald's burger since 2009.
Whoa.
It scares me.
Wow. That's actually pretty impressive. Oh, Sierra says you're lying.
What?
We went to McDonald's the other day.
I had chicken nuggets. It was different.
there you go.
There you
And
go.
it hurt.
Yeah.
It was
I was going to
terrible.
say, dude,
Yeah.
the thing is like, it's,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's such like a
terrible.
noticeable difference, like feeling wise, you know, if you're eating regular food and then you go, and then maybe people just don't have the comparison where they're like, oh, this is what you're supposed to feel like. And like, you know, I have friends that are like, yeah, I shit like once a week. I'm like, that's not
That's a problem.
normal. Like, what are you talking about? If you don't wake up and basically immediately have to use the bathroom,
Yeah,
like,
no,
what?
if I'm like drink some water when I get up and I start moving around, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's what I mean. He told me,
My
I'm like,
body
that's-
will sniff the pre-workout.
Yeah.
I'll be
yeah.
shaking it up and it's like,
Yeah, or morning coffee. Like I get
Yeah.
a whiff of coffee, and I'm like, okay.
time to go.
That's all coffee's for. Get the poo brewing.
But I've literally like I do know people that are like, yeah, maybe like once or twice a week. I'm like, go to the doctor or like
soon.
what do you eat when you
eat a fucking
normal-
vegetable?
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
It blows my mind.
That would freak. If I went 2 days without pooping, that would freak me out.
But it just goes to show like how
I don't
much
even know
people
if
don't pay
I couldn't
attention.
make it that far.
Dude,
If like 4 o'clock came, I'm like, what's wrong?
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
It's weird. And like people don't pay attention to that type of stuff, like how food makes you feel or like what it does to you. They're just like, oh, why do I feel like ass all the time? Or they don't have that A/B comparison of like, this is what I should feel like. I don't have constant gut pain. That's weird.
Well, the feeling is huge too, because like people don't know the difference between eating till they're not full or eating till they're full. Because like eating till you're satiated and you're not full is ideal. You eat till you're full and you feel sick, then that becomes a problem.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that's one of the things I try to
Heartburn,
tell
acid
people is like,
reflux.
just eat till you're not hungry. Don't eat till you're full.
Yeah.
Because that's really easy to do. If you think about it, you're like, okay, I'm not dying anymore. We're good. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I grew up friggin' broke. So like we saw a plate and you're like, yeah, no, eat everything on your plate. And you did.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that like, I mean, if you're under 40, like between like 25 and 40, you probably heard that a lot.
Yeah. No,
But
I definitely
I
did
couldn't
too.
leave until I like finished my plate type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think back then too, it's sort of like as a kid, it's like a hey, don't waste food lesson to be learned. But in the process of doing that, you sort of learn to overconsume because you're eating beyond what feels comfortable.
Absolutely.
But the one thing I actually wanted to bring up before we go any further was, what were you in the newspaper for? You were in the newspaper because some people went crazy and they were like, oh, this guy's actually good at his job.
So apparently I'm not as big as an asshole as I thought.
Surprise to everybody.
Well, hey,
No
two
shit.
things can be true. You can be good at your job.
I
And you
think
can
I
still
need
be
to
an
try
asshole.
harder, I guess. But no, the Norwich Bulletin does like a best of the Northeast, and like we built our gym during COVID, and apparently and been doing enough good things where got nominated and actually won.
Wow.
And I didn't like, that's a popularity contest by all means. Like to get nominated is, yeah, it's whatever. But to win it is usually like everybody telling their friends, you need to go online, you need to vote for me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I put that video out like, I don't know, a few months ago. I was like, it's a cool thing, but if I don't win, I don't fucking care. It'd just be a good plaque to go on the wall in the gym.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, it came out that I won. So
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, that's
all right.
congrats.
Yeah, no, it's not something I ever expected because like we built our gym and I just try to stay away from the public. The people who find me are people who want to find a certain thing. It's a niche
Yeah.
for sure. It's not like the general public. Like if you're a Planet Fitness-ite where you're comfortable, you just want to exercise, it's probably not the place.
It's definitely not the place.
There's a massive difference between exercise and training. It's something I've always said.
Mhm.
The people who come here train. They don't exercise.
Yeah, dude. They're training hard too.
Yeah.
Like I know. And actually it's funny, like I actually kind of want to get my girl to train with you at some point because like, you know, I know that she's kind of in this sort of like exercise phase
Mhm.
and it's great because it's like, oh, sweet. But there's definitely like there's things that's completely different when you're really pushing yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where I think people they'll be like, oh, I've gone to the gym for a year and I don't really look much different. And I think they miss that small window where muscle building actually starts to begin, which is close to failure.
I think the problem with that whole thing is the same thing we were talking about with nutrition. It doesn't have to be hard. Like it can be very, very simple. This stuff can be very simple, but the difference between exercise and training is nothing but intensity. It's not a magic potion with programming or anything like that. It's eating a little bit of good food and making sure you have that extra notch in intensity while you train. Like the maybe not scrolling your fucking phone and be like, oh, I guess I'll do another set. No, you maybe have a timer on your phone and go, okay, it's been a minute, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Like that, like somebody who times their rest and someone who doesn't, it's probably a big difference in their physique.
Yeah.
Like especially like for physique competitors, because those windows are crucial. Now for strength training, you get a little more leeway, but for somebody who's really looking to train for aesthetics, that window is huge. Like it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's funny. There's this guy at the gym. He's from here. You know, hey man, how's it going? You know, hey, it's good to see you. You know, he's always talking.
yeah.
He's always talking. You know this guy. He's a great guy. Means so well. He saw my movie and he's like, I didn't get it, and I was like, that makes sense. But he he was talking to me today. He's like, I think I need to like, keep track of resting or something. And I was like, yeah, dude.
It's a great start.
You should definitely keep track of rest.
Count to 30 in your head and get going.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, it's great. Like that's actually the one benefit of wearing the watch is I just have a constant timer going. So I'm like, all right, I finished my set at this. I have a minute and a half. I will start my set once the minute and a half is done.
Yeah, no, it makes it. I have a few girls who have watches on in the morning. And they usually are before their timer. They're so antsy, like, oh, fuck, gotta go. Like,
even with the watch, like I've just been using my phone stopwatch for years. Just like, okay.
Yeah, the phone stopwatch is fantastic. Especially if you do, especially if like you're the type of person that doesn't like having something on your wrist, like, so you need something to track
especially
it.
like at a public gym, I think that's great. For me, like we have 1,000 square feet and I'm just counting deep breaths. That's it. Like for me, especially coming from the fighting background, breathing was always huge. So I'll count deep breaths between sets.
Yeah.
So like whatever the time is, doesn't matter. I'm just counting, okay, we're ready to go. Like,
True. Like as long as you're good to go, max effort for the next set.
Yeah. And I'm not lifting really heavy anymore. Like there's no need for it, especially coming off a hip injury. So I'm just trying to get back and like I'm only lifting 2 days a week anyway.
Yeah.
So have you been like consistent with like your upper body lifting while the hip was?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was trying not to do too much heavy stuff because I was playing a lot of golf.
Yeah.
I'm still doing a ton of boxing.
Which is like super hip. I mean, those are both hip heavy. I mean, any sport really is all in the hips. So I feel like
it's all in the hips.
Thanks, Chubbs.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, I was still doing a lot of like pull-ups and stuff like that. Like I don't bench anymore.
Yeah.
It just kills my AC. So like most of the time it's like pull-ups, push-ups, dips. I can get away with that without really messing it up too much. But
So how did you hurt your hip again though? Like actually
playing basketball.
Yeah.
I pulled a bunch of stuff. It was my IT band and my quad, we thought, and it was fine. And then like I started playing again, and then one day it just wasn't. I didn't re-injure it. There was no like event. It just was terrible.
Oh man.
So I ended up doing, after like a year and a half of like, okay, this hurts, and 45-minute warm-ups and having to adjust everything and just not performing the same. I saw my surgeon and he was like, yeah, you have a 2.3 centimeter tear in your posterior labrum.
Oh,
yep. That'll do it.
And surgery would have been the option, but we ended up going with PRP injections. We did I did 6 injections, which was like, if you ever need them, like it's going to suck. But I would suggest
So is it like a very deep...
It was not a comfortable spot. And it's a like 8-gauge needle, like the needle they use to drain fluid.
God. And so PRP, for those that's platelet-rich plasma?
Yeah, they literally drain your blood, spin it, re-inject it. And
dude,
I've squatted 3 weeks. I've squatted 3 weeks in a row for the first time in 2 years with zero pain.
Wow.
And, dude, I'm a straight bitch. I squatted 155 for a 4x8 today. Like,
that must just feel so freeing to be able to do it with no pain.
Yeah.
You know?
The nice part is the no pain, but I'm just like in the back of my head waiting. I'm like, where is it? I know it's coming.
Yeah.
But so far, 3 weeks, no issues, but not pushing it. Like, I'm not going to look to squat 500 ever again. Like, I'm not going for that. I just want to be able to, like, 3 plates, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Right. Take it you're not doing trail running anymore?
I ran a few times this summer, not a lot. It just hurt too much.
Yeah.
I did get a mountain bike. I did a little bit of that. Like, I just got it like a few months ago, so I only got out a few times, but that was nice.
Yeah.
And that didn't hurt, so.
Less
impact.
On your,
See, I feel like your story about that's good because it kind of like showcases like what to do when you do get injured, and it's not like you got your injury and you're like, well, I guess I'm sitting on the couch forever, which can happen for people.
For some people that might. I'm just not wired that way.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people would like just the pain I was in because I was playing in men's basketball leagues still.
Yeah, Jesus.
Like I would show up to games 45 minutes to an hour early and do dynamic friggin' stuff to warm up and be like, okay, I'm good. But I still couldn't jump the way I normally do. I just couldn't move the same way. Everything was different. But I'm competitive, so I would just keep going. And eventually it was just too much and I couldn't do it. But like some people, I could absolutely see them being like, all right, well, fuck, my leg just doesn't work.
Dude,
and
it takes a lot of resolve to get fully through an injury because a lot of the times it's just like, especially after it's been a year or two and you're like, this is still a fucking problem.
Well, and I'm fucking old.
Dude, it makes it way worse.
I'm not getting any fucking younger, dude. Like it hurts like shit now. The rebounding hurt, like getting back in shape and losing weight is harder. Like I'm looking at taking a pro boxing match in probably the next few months and trying to get my body weight back to where it used to be is tough because while I was injured, I was just lifting weights, put on a bunch of muscle. Like when I first started boxing, I was like, fuck, I'm slow. Like, and I was 175, 176-ish, which for me is heavy. I'm 160 now, but like it was.
Yeah, dude, 175 is fucking.
Yeah, that's beefy. That's beefy.
It was beefy.
Yeah.
And trying to get back down, I was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy with when you're a kid and your testosterone's through the roof and your metabolism's crazy, you just burn fat by thinking about it. Now I'm like, fuck, I can't have cereal. Like,
I missed that. And
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a motherfucker, man.
Yeah. Dude, it's
have you, this is a total different. Have you tried they have an apple pie cinnamon toast crunch?
I have not.
Yeah, it's good.
Though I played golf this morning, I did have soft baked cinnamon toast crunch cookies.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. Gas station find.
Yeah. Dude, what?
Probably I did not look at the fucking nutrition on it, but it can't be good.
Yeah, anyway, so you just gotta not you gotta eat things that are on the outside of the aisle. Anyway, so
you gotta
cinnamon toast crunch.
Gotta be a human, man.
Yeah,
like
no, I agree. I think what's funny is like I will see people like at family events and they'll be like, I'd look like you, but I like cupcakes too much. I'm like, yo, I like cupcakes too.
I fucking love cupcakes.
I just like, how do you think I live? Like, I think people have the perception of someone who like only eats like this way all the time. And I think what they forget is like, if you have a buildup, in my opinion, if you have a buildup of years and years of training under your belt, and then you all of a sudden have a Pop-Tart, you're not just going to randomly gain 40 pounds.
No one who has one Pop-Tart ever gains anything.
Yeah.
It's when you start abusing the shit.
Yeah.
If you're consistently eating a Pop-Tart all the time and then several Pop-Tarts and then, okay.
Who doesn't?
And then you don't move.
Who doesn't like Pop-Tarts?
Yeah.
I think like it really, they might even like them at this point.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to people just being shitty adults and not taking accountability for like making adult choices. Mm-hmm. It is an adult choice to eat shitty food or not eat shitty food. And you may have X, Y, Z excuses. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's the choice you've made.
Mm-hmm. But John, there is no such thing as bad foods.
Like, oh my God.
Right?
What's the point of that conversation?
Yeah,
that whole thing is like, what's the goal here? Like, shut up. You know what we're talking about? Yeah. We're all on the same page here. We're not demonizing anything.
Don't demonize food. I'm like, I
don't have to demonize it. Read the fucking ingredients.
Yeah, they're numbers. Like, it's not the food, it's the numbers on the back.
Like, not even that. Like, look at the dyes and all the fucking chemicals in it. That should that's a bad food. It should be demonized.
Yes.
I don't actually think that's food.
The same shit you use to change your car tires in that.
Yeah.
Like,
but like, I don't know, even with like the gym, like I know people are, I have friends will be like, oh, well, it's hard for me to be consistent at the gym. Like, you're lucky you love working out. I'm like, dude, what the fuck does that even mean? I don't I like working out. Like, it's not like I wake up and I'm like, hell yeah, 6 o'clock. I can't wait to go to the gym. Like, when I wake up, I don't even want to speak or look at anyone. I just want to be in silence until I'm ready to
go back
leave.
to sleep.
It's a bummer he lives with me, dude.
Dude, and then he opens his mouth and I'm like, dude, shut up. It's way too early for this.
I feel like throughout the years, I've become more like cognizant of my annoyingness in the morning because I am the kind that I'll like get out of bed. I'm like,
dude,
same.
Yeah,
and she fucking hates it because I always ask her in the morning if like something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. She's tired and she's also blind, so she always looks like this.
But like my point is like I'm like, yeah, I like going to the gym, but I also I like feeling and looking good. I don't love like exercising. Like some days, of course, you're feeling it, you're feeling fucking great.
Feel great.
It's awesome, and the second you start doing it, you're like, okay, yeah, like I do want to be here. But my point is like, it's like I'm not doing it because like, hell yeah, I love lifting. Like, no, I like what it does for me when I do it.
And what it's going to do for you and your longevity.
Yeah.
And then I know if I don't work out and then 6 months later, I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, 6 months has passed and I did nothing, or 6 months could have passed and I've been working out the whole time. And it's like, that pisses me off. Like if I'm like, man, if I was working out for the past 3 weeks instead of complaining, like I would be looking and feeling better right now.
Yep.
Yeah. I think people have a tough time with, like, I think I saw a post today on Instagram. There was something like, I can't believe there's people out there that wake up early in the morning to go lift. Like, that's absolutely crazy. How do you not feel like shit? And I'm like, if only people understood how great you felt after working out consistently.
You're just getting it done.
Yeah. And like, but what that brings to you on a daily basis, you know, your pep in your step, your ability to go up a set of stairs and not get tired. You're like, just like
the little things.
Yeah, it's like the
be
little
able to carry the fucking groceries and be like, oh, that was easy.
Yeah, like just like, you know, you have to lift up a table and you're not like, you know, like you're just sorry.
Well, a lot of
like, you know what I mean?
A lot of people can't get past the first month.
Yeah.
And it takes a human being, like, I believe it's 21 days to psychologically form a habit, good, bad, or indifferent, right?
I think it's actually 12 weeks, my man.
Or is it really?
Yeah.
I thought there was like a 21 day where it becomes routine.
Yeah, I think it's 21 days to like form a bad habit. But like, I think it's like, maybe I'm getting the quote wrong.
I think you're correct though, where the 12 weeks is where you're like, there's that chemical change in your brain.
It's like an official, because 12 weeks would mark 3 months, which is like, you've officially formed like a long-standing habit.
Yeah, but like most people can't get past the first month. They can't gut it out.
Yeah.
But if you can gut out that first month, like it just becomes what you do.
Yes. Yeah, it becomes like brushing your teeth.
Yeah, it's not.
And some people can't even do that.
Ugh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, teeth.
Very little effort. Very little effort. I'm looking at you, English people. All right.
Oh. Britain is bad.
Get Harvey on the line.
Yeah, get Harvey. Let's call Harvey up. He's got a good set of teeth, though.
Yeah,
actually,
he
it's because he lives in America, though.
Against the odds.
That's what it is, Britain.
Is there? I mean, blame universal health care.
You made it out.
What happened?
No,
I had to wait a long time.
It's okay. It's like the only thing we got on them. You know, it's like, you know, and then they get upset about that. I'm like, hey, come on, can't we just make fun of you a little bit? At least our schools. Anyways, but
distraction.
Now on the more like training side of things, I think this is a good segue. What do you think like the average person should be looking at? Because they're like, so imagine like you're like some person, you're like, man, I really want to go to the gym, but I don't know what to do. You know,
like, but average person, you can go a lot of ways with it. Are you talking like somebody who works in an office? Like that's where
a good point, right?
Like the
compared to a construction worker, right?
Yeah, that's where like the simplicity and the simples, like the harder stuff, you got to find a balance.
Well, maybe we can sort of speak to both, because we're only about like halfway through. So I think we can maybe sort of touch on both avenues.
There's
here.
like a very big difference in terms of like work volume that they can handle.
Update, my bad.
Considering like if you're already on your feet all day, it's like you probably don't want to hammer that person in the gym.
Yeah, you can't be like, you can't fucking sling concrete all day, then go to the gym 6 days a week.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you could. It's just like you're gonna need some like Mexican supplements to go with it.
It's
not gonna go well.
Well, I guess my point being is like a good starting entry point. Like I guess things that I think about like are just learning even just the basics of what does what. So like, you know, pulling a lat row, I've heard people be like, yeah, my triceps. And I'm like, oh, fuck, you guys got here. Take this book, Strength Training Anatomy. It's great. It'll show you all the workouts and what they work, you know.
If you feel a pulling movement in your tries, you're either something's wrong or you're just kind of fucking around and talking to talk.
Yeah, well,
maybe pullovers would be the only one where like at end range, but it's like, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess like,
but I know what you're talking about though. Like, that does happen a lot.
Yeah. So like, you know, you get someone, they've never been in the gym before. Just, I know there's a lot of specifics. You can touch on anything you want to touch on. But like someone who's brand new is like, John, what do I do?
I mean, I'm going to base it on occupation, what they're looking to do as far as goals. Like, do they want to be strong? Do they want to look a certain way? Sure. Most people, like average American right now, which is a very sedentary, mostly obese person, 3 days a week is plenty.
Yeah.
3 days a week of resistance training, maybe 2 days a week of cardio. Like, it really doesn't have to be more than that.
Yeah.
Like push, pull, legs, some steady state cardio, and they'll be a better person in a year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be harder than that.
Yeah, I think, and this is where the fitness space can really be like, can make things seem like, oh, fuck, I'm not doing the right workout, you know? And it's like,
because they want to sell their brand or sell a modality or like anything. They fucking close it and supplements. Like, I could give a fuck. Like, I'm going to make money because people are going to come find me. So I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm not trying to sell you fucking hoodies or joggers, or I'm not a brand ambassador from some stupid supplement company.
Sweet hoodie, though.
Yeah, it's a nice hoodie.
Rushordertees.com. No, I do have a guy making, we're gonna do some new ones this year because these were cool, but they were like I had like 20 people who wanted them. I did it last minute. I got fucked. And like $750 for 20 hoodies.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
shit, yeah.
dude. What?
Yeah. It was, but you know what? We wanted to get them done. So we did it. And it was like last minute. So whatever. This year I have a guy in O&E Customs in Jewett City.
Mm-hmm.
Nice kid. He's going to do some for us. So I think we're probably going to do very similar hoodies with matching joggers.
Nice. Okay.
Hell yeah. But you're not trying to sell us joggers or hoodies or anything.
I could give a
fuck
fuck.
those guys that do
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you want them, buy them. If not, fuck off. Don't care. Like for one, you got to find my gym to get them. So
yeah. Good luck.
So maybe because that's a really good generic answer. What's like someone that walks into your gym specifically? Someone walks into your gym. Some of the first things that you notice are like maybe problem areas that they should address.
I get mostly fucking injured people really because I had a
Okay.
background in physical therapy.
Right.
So like they'll see other trainers or they'll do X, Y, Z, whatever. And they get sent to me because it just doesn't work out there. I have a lot of people who had doctors give them diagnoses and I was like, well, and who are friends. And like, I was like, yeah, it seems weird. Let's see. And it's never fucking right because the doctors in the Northeast corner are fucking idiots.
Right.
It's like they're just trying to sell PT and do what the insurance tells them.
Right.
But I mean, people who come to me kind of know what to expect. It's not like they come to me and they're like, okay, I want to do this. No, they come in that door and they know this is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It's almost the other way around. Like my programming is on that board for the first couple of weeks. If someone's there, okay, like we're going to work and we're going to kind of ease you in because the volume is typically high, especially right now with the strength cycle. But I do have a girl who's like working to run a marathon right now, so she's not doing all the same stuff.
Okay.
So like there's a baseline programming and then I'm kind of taking people who need special treatment and just doing it on the fly.
Okay.
Just making sure that like the training modality fits what they're doing and they can recover and not get hurt.
Okay.
Like, cause she was training for a show and I had like 2 or 3 other girls, her mother included.
Yeah,
And
didn't they like take home some prizes, right?
They both did very well. They both qualified for nationals.
Hell yeah.
And
What
I mean-
is that?
You guys looked fantastic, by the way.
They did.
Yeah, yes.
Neither of them decided to go. It was just too much.
It is a lot.
It is.
And her mom's 56.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it's
For her.
kind of nuts.
She's a psycho.
Clearly good genetics,
Like-
though, huh? Because if
Yeah.
you guys both won, you know.
Well, I mean,
Next time we'll get you a mic. I'm so sorry.
she's like one of the people who go run 10 miles with no headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so she's crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but we got her to stop running and start lifting. It was something awesome for them to do together.
That's amazing.
But like they were training a certain way. So I had to kind of tailor my programming and fix the other groups of people while they could still train.
That's sweet, dude. I have a feel like, so at some point I'm gonna get cast for something, and I already know I'm gonna be hiring you to be my trainer because it's like, you know, I don't want to hire some celebrity guy. You know, I would rather like
They'll gladly take your money.
Oh, dude, Joel Seedman or whatever the
Yeah,
hell that
that's
guy's
true.
name is with the stupid ass,
bro.
like, stand on one leg on a Bosu ball and do a bicep curl.
Yes,
and,
dude. Oh
with
my
a band
God.
attached to your left arm and whatever the fuck.
Anytime I see a fucking video on Instagram with a Bosu ball involved, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, I know.
Especially with these like $1 million athletes. There was one a few years ago. They had it was actually his knees are destroyed now, but Lonzo Ball standing one-legged on a Bosu ball with his coach throwing him like a tennis ball for reactionary stuff. I'm like, that guy's making $15 million a year, and you have him standing on an uneven surface to work on stability. There are way better ways to do that and not fucking kill the guy.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of those guys.
Like a lot of people do that kind of stuff
So you
because
know.
the flashy, trendy shit. I'm like, but the basics, like whether it's nutrition, training, stuff like that, even at the advanced level, the basics will always work. Like something as simple as like linear progression, right?
Yeah.
The most basic strength training progression there is. Up 5 pounds a week. That's what everybody at my gym is doing right now. Last 4 weeks have been 4x8s, up 5 pounds a week. Guess what? Everybody gets stronger.
Yeah.
Beginners, advanced, you always get stronger. And like, sure, you'll hit your wall, but then you can change your rep scheme. But that linear progression always fucking works. And it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Like your level of adaptation, sure, maybe it will work for shorter amounts of time, but it's always going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, just the progressive overload.
And then
It's
people,
funny.
like same thing. People like go in and they're like, oh, I'm gonna work out my arms today, and then like they're doing something different every week. But it's like, okay, if you don't have a program and you can't see that,
But that
you're
was that
progressively
stupid shit
overloading.
that came through with like P90X where you're like shocking the muscles.
Yeah,
Our
which
muscles are
is-
like, whoa.
Me too, actually. I also did P90X, but then you look back and you're like, okay, well,
It doesn't
like,
fucking exist.
like how are you supposed to know that you're stronger this week if you don't do the exact same thing you did last time?
Well, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like one of the major problems CrossFit had was like, sure, people got strong because you introduced all these new friggin' movements and they were working harder than ever. But then they hit these walls because it's really easy to teach strong people skills. But once you like hit that wall, it's really hard to teach weak people to be strong.
Yeah.
Mm.
So like if I have an athlete who comes in, I'm always going to be like, all right, the stronger guy is going to be easier to deal with because he's got a base. I can just teach him skills. The weak guy, you have to take the 12 weeks and build him up and then teach him skills because you have to get him strong first.
Yeah.
Strong people are always like more useful, harder to kill, man.
It's
Yeah.
it's true. Actually, it's funny. Even in like jujitsu, there's like a lot of moves where you're like, I understand this move, but I don't have the mobility or hip strength to actually pull it off yet.
Absolutely.
So it's like you can't even teach a lot of people moves simply because of that. So like when I went in just from, lifting and like, having decent mobility, a lot of the things I could just kind of do.
Yep.
Like I would see it and I'd be like, oh, I could do that. But then like, you notice eventually like, oh, okay, my hips don't move like that. So I kind of need to.
To a
You know.
certain level, an athlete will always be an athlete and they'll figure out how to adapt no matter what environment you put them in. And that's kind of why like resistance training and stuff like that is so important, especially later in the life. Like there was just I was fucking listening on the way here. Like even when it comes down to like cancer, saying it didn't discriminate any kind of cancer, you'll be able to fight it better if you have more muscle mass.
Yeah.
Like if you're generally more healthy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot to do that. Like,
It's kinda
wouldn't you
crazy.
want to almost bulletproof yourself if you could?
And you could.
Dude,
and you
That's
could
a
last
step in the right
longer.
direction.
Yes.
A lot of the time, like sick patients or whatever, they last longer for the same reason, right? It's almost like you got a bigger health bar. You know what I'm saying? You're sitting
Yeah.
in a hospital bed. It's like, you're
But
gonna-
instead, we've gone the opposite way and gone, okay, when I get like cancer and AIDS patients, one of the things they gave them to keep muscle mass on while they were going through treatment
oh yeah, yeah.
is one of today's more popular drugs, especially for female competitors, Anavar.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That is, its initial use was for cancer and AIDS patients to keep on muscle mass during chemo.
And that's
Wow.
isn't that the same reason they made SARMs too originally?
yeah, because they
Absolutely,
were
yep.
trying to decrease the amount of androgenic effects.
Yeah, now your favorite 14-year-old TikTokers on SARMs, and so yeah, you got
Who's
all just all of them, dude.
Just
all the
all of
like
them.
broccoli head kids in the gym.
Dude. They,
It's so funny that hairstyle is very popular.
No,
though.
it is, and
And
they
they're
all
yeah.
deadlift and look like fucking dogs taking a shit.
Oh,
the
dude.
Have you seen that
yes,
meme? It's fucking.
yes, dude.
It's a toss up between dogs taking a shit or cats throwing up. I can't really like. It's either one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm natty. I'm like, dude, your balls aren't gonna work in like 3 years, and you're like,
you're
15.
wearing joggers and an oversized shirt. You look fucking ridiculous, and you're on juice. Good for you.
yeah, and it's not even like the juice that we know about.
I know,
You're
yeah.
like-
just
you're
take test. Honestly, if you're gonna do something, like
They're taking fucking oral everything.
oral
like,
everything. They're on an oral only cycle of like SARMs and D-ball and all this crazy
the
stuff.
fact that
and it's like-
D-ball is like, for one, super super useful, but the fact that people still take it's just so harmful.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot about how you're really not supposed to ever do a oral only cycle.
No, absolutely.
You're
not.
supposed to do like a test base.
Well, even if you're gonna
And
run,
then-
if you're gonna run something like test, like you have to, like if you're gonna run those doses, you're not running like 0.2, 0.3 medicinal dose.
yeah.
If you're running anything more than that, you have to run inhibitors.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
right?
Like, if you're not running inhibitors, you're just fucking like toasting yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing is like people think that like, oh, he's on gear, so it must be easy. And I'm like, yo, it's kind of like you're opening up a door of chemistry now.
yeah,
Because before,
It's way harder than most people think.
as complicated as you think lifting is, whoever you are listening, the introduction of performance enhancing drugs only makes things ever so more complicated because now you got to get constant blood work because if you don't, you're pretty much irresponsible
Yep.
because you have
Yeah.
no idea what's going on
it's
with
not
you.
a one size fits all approach, and
Never
the
is.
risk reward is huge because if you do fuck up what you're doing, then like the risk or side effects afterwards could be. I mean, you could just basically make yourself impotent.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned like the TikTokers because what are they all doing right now? Fucking dying.
Yeah.
Because they're all
basically
trying to stay in show shape year round,
Yep.
doing all the wrong shit the wrong way, not doing their blood work. Like you're just running a bunch of shit and like, dude, and it's why it gets demonized because steroids have their place, man. Like I don't care who you are. Like USADA's out of the UFC now. Let them all sauce.
Yeah, that's going to be so interesting.
Let them all do their blood work. Let them all sauce a certain amount. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna like, I wouldn't do it personally, like for those reasons. But dude, the second I notice a difference as I get older, I'll go on TRT and not fucking come off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like
there's a place for
all
it.
those guys are like, I feel like immediately going to start using like EPO and stuff like that. I don't know what they do.
Immediately using, they're all fucking doing it.
I mean,
now.
not that they're, whatever his name, TJ Dillashaw got popped, but these guys are all cycling on and off. I mean, for sure. It's like the NFL, you're telling me those guys aren't all on gear.
Dude, that's the funniest thing.
For the amount they train though, there's not a pot. Like, I don't care who the fuck's doing your nutrition, if it's perfect for your blood type or your alkaline levels, whatever horse shit they're selling you. You could have the best nutrition and sleep in a fucking hyperbaric chamber. You can't train as much as they do and recover without it.
Yeah, you can't. You're right. It's just
you need to be on something, at least like a peptides or something,
Way too much
trust
volume.
me, it's not even that. Like you need more.
Yeah.
It's like there's not a way to train 5 to 6 days a week, 4+ hours a day at a elite level and recover. You can't.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, but the reason is like McGregor picks up the phone and USADA's gone. That's it. You know what I mean? He's their moneymaker.
No,
he jumps in the pool.
It wasn't even that. Like their contract was up. So like it was like just decided not to renew. But I mean, McGregor probably played a role.
Dude, he made them like what they are today, essentially.
Juicy, bro.
And exactly, look at his GH head.
Well, that's why he didn't jump back in the pool in January or last January.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you have content creators like Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Like,
I don't mind Derek.
Dude, he's great.
I don't mind him.
No, I love him. He's fantastic. I don't know how, like, he's just, for me,
and very knowledgeable.
Bulletproof.
Yeah.
He is a bulletproof content creator. But one of the things that I find funny is he made like a guide of like how to essentially, like, he's like, I'm not suggesting this, but here's how you would get through USADA because their testing actually isn't even that comprehensive.
The only thing that screwed fighters was that these guys would show up at like fucking 6 a.m., knock on their door and be like, hey, I piss in a cup.
Yeah.
Like, shit. Like, you can't clean out by then.
Yeah, I know. It becomes crazy if we start saying, we're going on a huge tangent here, but I don't mind it.
Whatever.
But it becomes crazy if you start saying like, okay, yeah, y'all can use steroids as much as you whatever. You know, like what's the limit?
Yeah.
Then like what's
it's
what
like
I mean?
anything too much, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, because like you have like the example, like, dude, I hate when I see this, but people will be like, protein's actually really bad for you. Have you seen all these bodybuilders dropping dead? And it's like, so
that's the 1,000 milligrams of spread a week, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know how to say this, but it's not the protein.
Yeah,
they're not dying at 30 because they had too much steak.
Well, funny that you bring up steak. Do you follow Mike Mutzel? Metabolic Mike?
Metabolic Mike. Hold on, I can check. I don't think I do, but hold on.
He just posted a thing about like a bunch of Harvard studies are trying to say that they're demonizing red meat again.
Oh,
but then if you look at I got it on my phone.
They just do a ton of data manipulation, or they'll just
cherry pick
things.
and everything else.
Yeah.
Metabolic Mike, you said eating red meat increases type 2 diabetes risk starter pack, and it's just a bunch of bread and Cheerios and.
Well, what they have right here is the Harvard scientists are trying to claim it increases developing diabetes by 62%, but then they looked at the people and like. The people in the red meat group were less healthy, heavier, exercise less, ate more calories. Like,
yeah, it's like
what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, it's like you can't just like that's the thing, and we talked about that back when we were still doing like data analysis episodes.
Yeah,
our first episode ever was like red meat or nah, back before like we changed podcasting stuff. But like the whole thing was like you can't just say red meat is bad because you're looking at a group of people that overconsume, like smoke cigarettes on the regular.
Well, and that's that 60s and 70s mentality where the doctors are like, oh, you got to lean out the red meat. Like, did you see the Rob Wolf study from, I don't know, a couple of years ago?
No.
They did a 7-year study in like 35 countries. And what they didn't do in the initial study in the 60s and 70s is monitor what people did outside of red meat consumption. And in this one, they monitored exercise and every habit they had. You know what the biggest risk for heart disease was in that study?
What?
Sugar.
Oh, well, yeah.
The difference between the red meat group and the non-red meat group was there was no findings. It was just the people who ate sugar got fucking heart disease.
Because
See,
it
it's
just
like
has to
that-
do with overconsumption.
Yes.
Because,
back
like-
to the first thing we talked about.
That's
Yeah,
the thing, dude. Is
yeah.
like a lot of the earlier studies, like they just don't control for a lot of things that
No.
are like very much important.
Like
It's
this guy already had cancer and smoked cigarettes, but the red meat fucking killed him.
Yeah, dude. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
Literally
so
the
dumb.
same shit that happened with COVID.
Yeah.
Like he had a fucking heart attack, but he had COVID while he had it, so that killed him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Fuck outta
better
here.
for our narrative. So let's just say he died from COVID.
Yeah, no, and it was because sugar companies were like, it was the same thing as like shoe companies sponsoring basketball players. Sugar was paying for everything.
Yeah.
So they were going to push a narrative that made sugar look okay. It was in
sugar.
everything.
Yeah.
Big Sugar's behind it.
Big sugar.
Well, at one point, Big Sugar was a thing.
Yeah.
Like Big
Well,
Sugar and Big Pharma, man. Like it's
what-
terrible.
What's crazy though is that you then get people like this is back to the point of like people making things confusing where it's like, yes, a Pop-Tart is technically a bad food. And someone's like, well, don't fucking say that it's a bad food. The same type of person will be like, oh, well, okay, so the people in this group, actually the determining factor for heart disease was actually sugar. So maybe, don't overconsume and don't have so much sugar. Someone will be like, well, don't tell me that sugar is bad. You're a bad person for saying that sugar is bad. It's like, bro, like two things can be true. Okay. You can overconsume sugar and be very unhealthy.
Yes.
You can also have a small amount of sugar and be perfectly okay.
Absolutely.
There's actually, dude, you want to talk about confusing,
why
too.
people can't understand that those two things can coexist is unreal to me.
I will tell you why. It's because no one likes complex answers. People like things to be, this is bad, this is good.
And they like things that make them feel okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you tell them, hey, it's okay if every once in a while you go out downtown, you get a little gelato. Okay. That's
Whatever.
okay.
Who
You
fuck
had it
cares?
once that week.
That requires thought and self-control.
Yeah,
and,
I know,
and
dude.
critical thinking. But
Dude,
that's too much work.
It's a
Okay.
it is a lot of work. I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot of work. It doesn't have to
It's
be.
not. You just
It's
build
just-
a habit, and then it's automatic.
And I think because I had a family member who's like, I'm good at my job. I'm very proficient with, doing this and paying my bills and doing all this. But when I get home, I don't want to think about the food stuff. And it's like, okay, I totally hear you. Your life is very complicated and rushed and you have a lot of things going on, but you should. Just 2 seconds. It doesn't take a lot.
To me, that sounds like you're saying, okay, I do all this, but then I can't be an adult and have the mental capacity that I have at work to make the decisions outside to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
Or for my long-term health.
I mean, at that point, it's like, okay,
At some
then
point, that's the
offload-
thing you have to consider is long-term health. Like especially after 30, you have a very small window after 30 to start making the right choices before the bad ones become seriously detrimental.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that confuses people too, is they'll be like, well, I've been training for 6 months and I haven't lost 400 pounds. I'm exaggerating
Yeah,
here,
I
but
get
like, you know what I mean? Like people will be like, oh, how come it's taking so long? And the guy at the gym who's lost, 50 pounds or plus is like, man, I'm only losing like a pound a week. I'm like, look, that's great.
You're adapting.
Well, dude, I
I
mean,
was like-
relative to his overall body composition, like it's like, he might have lost 5 pounds at 300 pounds, but that could be the same percentage body fat loss as like 1 pound at
Yep.
like 2 whatever.
You're just
Yeah.
adapting.
So it's-
Like,
it's-
that's it.
You
But
know,
it takes years for that body weight to be built on you. You can't just expect, oh, this took 10 years for me to build this big body.
Yeah.
That
And
it's
get
gonna
rid of it in 6 months.
Yeah.
You can't
yeah.
you can't just have bad habits and abuse your fucking body to the point where like you're talking about the physical stuff you can see. What about the damage you've done to your organs over time
Mhm.
and like your ability to deal with insulin and stuff? Like, how many people now are like the biggest problem is them being insulin resistant because
Yeah.
they've just fucking ate themselves into a shithole.
Yeah, that's
it's-
why it's like, look, we can have we should be allowed to have nuanced conversations between like being overweight and then that not exactly being the most healthy thing you should be doing. Like, I'm not going to look at someone who drinks and like I have family members who have alcohol, they drink it a lot. but they're great. They still function in society. They are fun people to be around. They're great citizens in the world.
They have their vice.
But they drink, and they know they drink. And that's, you know what? Okay.
If that's something you've made peace with and you're fine with it.
And you're still a good person and all that stuff. And then you're great. But don't tell me that drinking every day is healthy.
No,
or drinking all.
And don't demonize fucking everyone who asks you about it or is like, hey, like maybe you should try this.
Maybe you should quit having a drink every single day.
Yeah.
Just saying. You know, and then, but we're okay with addressing alcoholism. But when we get to food seems so sacred for a lot of
Food's
people.
Just as bad or worse, especially with all the bullshit in it in the US.
Yeah.
Might be worse than some of those, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is in someone who is overweight who had commented on my story and really lit me up and was very, you know, he's like, dude, I'm insecure. It was a male. He's like, I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. He's like, it's easy to quit drinking because I don't have to drink in order to live. But I have to eat in order to live. And it is really hard for me to shut off that eating switch once I start eating. So the addiction of food is real. And he at least acknowledges that he has a problem. But some people, they get so they have like a disillusion. That's not the right word. They're kind of convinced themselves that it's okay. It's okay that I'm eating this much and I'm this weight.
Kind of like disassociating the problem.
Yeah. And I think it's like, and it sucks because we're in a world right now where if you even mention that, hey man, maybe, you know, cut back on the food a little bit. Like you're the biggest, worst person ever.
Good. Fuck it. Like at that point, like I'll be the fucking worst person you know because at the end of the day, you might say, oh, I'm sensitive. You know what? Fuck your feelings. I'm trying to help you. And if you can't see that, that's a fucking personal problem you have. That's not me. Like me being like, listen, you're going to fucking die or you're going to end up with these issues because you can't stop putting fucking shit in your mouth.
Yeah. And not moving.
You might not like how it's said. You might not like the angle, the approach, whatever it is. Don't fucking care because at the end of the day, I'm trying to do something good for you. Yeah. Whether you like it the way it's approached or like you just don't see it, don't fucking care. I'm trying to help.
But it is weird how it's like it is like different when you're talking about that simply because like I don't understand. It's like a, you know, drug addiction of a kind. You know what I mean? It's all the same. It's like it's you're doing something to your body that's damaging. And so calling it out, it's like I really don't know why it is so weird with food. I know it's like a cultural thing, you know, eating is very like
well, it can be, but like if you look at again, we'll go back to the chemicals in our food. How do we know that like that's not part of the main problem with it being so addicting?
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, like, you know,
it's certainly like those fucking chemicals aren't supposed to be in food.
Yeah.
So who says that's not part of the reason you can't stop fucking eating?
I know. It's just tough because like, you know, you see like these things online that's like super popular and it's like someone will be like, oh, 7-year transformation. And it's like a woman and she's like fit and healthy. And then she gets like super fat and she's like, or plus sized, you know,
fat.
Like, yeah. And it's like, no, by the way, no plus sized men. But anyway, so like I'm not going to have an acting career for very long. But like, but the point being is that like she gains all this weight and it's like a 70-pound increase. And it's like, I'd be okay with like maybe like 20 pounds, you know, but like 70 pounds, it's like, okay, like
that is half of a person.
Yeah, it's like, hey,
put that in perspective. You gained half of another person.
Yeah, it's like
that's a problem.
And the problem is the comments are all like, oh, like uplifting, and you're so much better, and everything's so positive.
The body positivity, great. That whole movement,
is
one of the fucking worst things to happen to females specifically.
Because I feel like guys were like, you're like, dude, I saw this thing the other day. I'm sorry I keep talking over you, but it's in the same vein. It's like girl motivational TikTok. Yes, gosh, queen, you're the best. You're awesome. And then guy motivational TikTok. You're weak. You're pathetic. Right. You need to get in the gym.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know 5 fat people and you're 4 of them. Like,
yeah, dude. Yeah. And for whatever reason, it seems like guys take that better for the most part. I don't know what it is. With like,
I don't know what.
To your point, like it is seemingly affecting women the most. Where like
women are more emotional in general than men for the most part, and I think that's part of it. But like, it became this thing where you get like fucking Lizzo's big garbage ass on a stage, and she's just like that. Like you can't make that look positive. I don't care what your attitude. She's probably a great person.
But she dances and plays the flute,
and it's
John.
fucking gross.
She dances and plays the flute, so she's in shape.
The fact that she didn't eat that flute is a fucking miracle.
Dude, and it's like one of those things where it's like you can like be body positive in the sense that you're like, all right, cool, this is my body, you know, like I love it, etc. But then acknowledge where you are and then be like, all right, cool, well, like I can make progress. You know, you can always make progress. Even if you're fit and in shape, you're like, well, yeah, I could probably be a little better.
I just think that we don't have standards anymore as far as what people should be. And people have fucking run amok with that. Like, I don't care who you are. Unless you're fucking 7 feet tall, there is almost no genetic predisposition to be 300 pounds.
Yes, that's
they're just
man or woman.
And it's not me trying to fucking like down someone or be like, oh, you fat fuck. No, you're just not supposed to be that big because you can't function.
Yeah.
Tell me you can walk up a flight of stairs and be okay. Like, can you do a pull-up? No. Like,
and like,
you don't have any general anything. Like, you're hurting yourself.
Like 300 pounds, like, yeah, being obese. But then also, like, if you're like 5'9", 300 pounds of muscle, like, you're probably also going to die, dude.
Yeah, that's also a problem. That's also a problem.
Like, people are like, oh, well, that's not like that. That is just like, and again, also it requires tons of steroid abuse, blah, blah, blah. But the point is like, that is, like you said, it's just way too fucking big for a human. Like, we're not gorillas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's where, like, I think the internet plays a big role in that because guys are, I got to get as big as I fucking can because they have, like, a bunch of insecurities and whatever else the issue is that they need to do that.
Yeah.
And if that's your thing, that's awesome. That's fine. Fucking, I'll help you.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh, is this healthy? I'm not going to fucking lie to you and be like, yeah, no, it's fine, dude.
Dude, well, is playing professional sports healthy? Like, hell no. Dude, you're going to play in the NFL, you're going to get into a car accident once a week. You know what I mean? Like,
fucking that's 15 times a game, brother. Like, that is,
like, that's not healthy. Like, it's cool and it's like performance-based, whatever. But like, you know, if we're talking about just being healthy, that's not, you know, we're telling like, oh, you're 300 pounds, you should be this guy who's a fucking linebacker. Like, no.
Yeah. I think the body positivity movement's probably started out
as a good thing.
Absolutely. Which is like, hey, just because you're overweight, you're not a bad person. No. Which is completely true.
100%.
Like, that's the most important part. It's like, hey, just because you're overweight, I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying, like, just like there's a person who smokes too many cigarettes, it's very possible to eat too much food.
Yeah.
And it's also, I acknowledge that it's harder because there's a certain degree of that whole thing I mentioned before where it's you can't live without eating.
No.
So trying to create a habit that revolves around you eating a little bit less and maybe moving a little bit more is tough.
When you start promoting your obesity as a positive thing, that's where the problem happens. Because
that's where we,
especially if you're someone who's in the public eye or even worse, a celebrity, like now you have little kids who look up to you. And now you're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're like, oh, you should be proud of who you are. Absolutely. But if you're morbidly obese and you're saying to kids that this is okay, you're setting them up for failure in their future, whether you think you are or not.
I mean, there was literally a fatfluencer or whatever it's called recently that died. She died of a heart attack.
No shit.
Because she was overweight.
Yeah.
And it's like, at some point, we have to acknowledge just what we're seeing.
And
if I'm seeing something and I'm looking at, like, what's crazy to me is the people that are the most like trust the science people, that sector of the population, for whatever reason,
trust the science, just not that science.
Just exactly. Is so selective about just like some basic health science. It's like, all right, well, why? I don't know. But
I'll gladly take this experimental vaccine, but I'm not eating that fucking apple. Like,
yeah. Or like, I'll trust the science and some of these things I'm all for, by the way. I'll say that on the mic. Some of these things I do support. So like if you're like, oh yeah, look at climate science and look at all these people that are talking about this. But then let's look over here at these dietary people. Well, they don't know what they're talking about.
Extremists.
Yeah, it's just like
you're a extremist for being in shape.
Yeah.
That was a push during, like, towards the end of COVID. Like, you were a right-wing extremist if you took care of yourself.
Yeah, if you
I
just
saw
worked
that
out.
too. Yeah,
Like,
if you
what
exercise,
the fuck?
you're I'm like,
I was like, wait,
you're a fascist if you work out. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking?
You're like, what? Just doing some push-ups.
How did I get onto this on the internet?
That makes me laugh because it's like the people who are all for fascism are the ones saying that.
Dude, it's
like, do you know like any like political history at all?
Yeah, let's not get into politics.
It doesn't make any sense. And
but,
then, like if you're again, like it's like the promoting it. It's like you can be like cool with your body, that's fantastic.
And I'm
You
going
know
to
what I
like
mean?
you all
Good.
the same.
Yeah,
I'm going to
it's
like
not,
you all
it's
the
like
same.
it's just speaking candidly about it. It's like it's not like a do you feel like you're fat? It's like a 1 + 1 = 2. Like that's
Dude, what's
not
faster,
good for
40 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour? 60 miles an hour. Whoa, wait a
you.
minute.
Yeah.
Don't be
all-
speedist here.
It's all
Yeah, that's-
relative. Where'd you start?
yeah, dude.
Fuck.
And so I don't know.
That's got a heavy
not
foot.
Not that it's like easy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, oh, okay, I get it. Like you go, like one thing to do that's very popular is going out to eat. Like people go out to eat all
It's
the
one
time.
of my favorite things
It's-
to do.
And it's really hard at a lot of restaurants, like, whatever. But people cook everything in tons of butter, whatever, this, and that. And like, if you're looking at calories, like, yeah, it's tough, but you got to say no sometimes, whatever. But it's not like, it's like the promoting it is the bad part. Like, oh yeah, no, this is sick. I'm like 600 pounds and
Yeah.
you
And
should
it's
be
okay, and you should be like me.
yeah,
Like, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Have you seen like the doctor for My 600-Pound Life?
No.
That dude fucking like he cracks me up. Like one of the people were talking, and she's like, "Well, I've been in this hospital for X amount of hours, and they haven't fed me." He's like, "You've eaten your next 4 years of meals in advance. You can miss one." I was like,
Oh my God.
Dude,
Oh,
he is
God.
absolutely ruthless and hysterical.
Oh, man.
He's so funny.
Oh, God. Well, we've been going for a little bit here. I do want to like kind of actually
Rein it back in.
Yeah, rein it back in just a bit. So and actually, if we can sort of close out.
All right, let's do it.
So some closing. We've been ranting a while about nutrition. We got sort of touched on. We're gonna need to have you back because I want to talk more about some specific stuff. But
Yeah, it's true. We kind of had a
yeah,
topic, but
yeah.
kinda
And this
It's
is how
okay.
it always goes.
Yeah.
We get here, we run.
We're just having fun. But it's that Bird Dog whiskey. Thanks for the commercial spots. But
just held the bottle up.
yeah, Bird Dog whiskey. No, but so any sort of like closing thoughts, either if you want to, thoughts about nutrition, exercise, what you're doing, where people can find you, anything like that, like anything you want to,
It doesn't have to be hard. Like people who are trying to make those changes and they're finding all the pressure and all the bullshit, it doesn't have to be hard. Like golden rules, if you can't catch it, kill it or grow it, just try not to eat it. A little bit of portion control. And on the nutrition end, you don't have to do more than that. As far as training, follow a program. Like there's no fucking magic pill. You just have to be consistent, have a little bit of intensity, and you're going to get where you want to get. As far as finding me, we live in Plainfield. We have a gym on our property. You can find the Facebook or Instagram. The Facebook is Red Devil Performance and Athletics, and the Instagram handle, I believe, is at Red Devil Strong 3. Otherwise, you can just search and find it pretty easily.
Sweet. Well,
Awesome.
thanks so much,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
Oh, man,
that was
a
a blast.
fun.
It flew by because I only know that we've been going a while because I had to restart the camera a few times. I was like, damn, this is going good.
I mean, what was the last one? Like an hour?
Yeah,
It
something like
just
that,
happens.
yeah.
Man.
Well,
No, I appreciate it,
yeah.
man.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple TV, BoneAppleTeav on Instagram. Thanks so much.